Morning, and welcome to Monday's Peace for Peace. We're going to talk about something called separation distress today. One question for you as we go into all of this. Are you finding now, as we're entering month 7, that your energy is beginning to flatline? That life itself is kind of like food that has no taste to it. That life itself is a bit of a slog, coupled with maybe a healthy dose of underlying stress, and you're just beginning to really lack the energy to either get to things or care about things, and it's just sort of seeping in, and you're literally just slowing down. Are you there? Or is somebody that you know? Is that person there? So with that thought in mind, I'd like to just offer a couple of quick things to get us moving, and then you'll see I don't have a whole lot to say today because really the way out and the way forward, there aren't 100,000 different things. The first is, if you're not a church-going person, go check out the video of our church service anyway. There is a really great everyday message in 2 parts. One to children from my friend Molly Bell, who's one of our ministers but specializes in children's ministry, and then my friend Pete Woods, who's the musician at Mackay United, the minister at Mackay United, who also happens to be a musician, and his sermon on what forgiveness does and humor does to create space to move forward. I'd also encourage you to revisit my video on protracted grief, just in case you need a refresher about what's fueling these feelings of flatlining if you or somebody you know is experiencing them. And so here it is. So why is this happening? Why are some people flatlining? Well, let's use returning to school as an example. Let's use that. I was talking to an administrator, a friend of mine who works in one of Ottawa's high schools. She was telling me that right now she is working 5 days a week, sometimes weekends, and it's a minimum of 10 to 12 hours a day, sometimes more. Because everything is double, right? And then she makes the really important observation. And she says, we're doing all these things inside the school to make inside the school is safe, but if people don't change their habits outside of school, it doesn't really matter. The schools aren't going to be any safer. It's a very, very important point. And so you can feel her own sense of, is it even worth it to do any of this? And yet, she has to, because she's got to do her part. Life is a little bit like that right now. And it is going to mean more than just a few casual coping mechanism changes now. Now it is radical shift. And that's daunting, and a lot of the fatigue that we're feeling right now through this separation distress is about that, because if there's one thing that is really, really difficult for human beings, and not because we're unwilling, it's just because it's the way we're programmed, it's to change deep-seated habits. We need deep-seated habits to keep us stable. And so changing them, rightly so, means that it takes a lot of thoughtful and careful care. At least some pretty bizarre behavior, though. I mean, we rejected a lot of science around masks, and that's still happening. I read today that toilet paper and paper towel is beginning to fly off the shelves again, not so much in Canada, but in the United States. So yeah, that just goes to show you how hard it can be. So why don't you sit with me for a second, and we're going to sit down and we're going to have a little chat about what it is I'm going to suggest that we do to find the energy to do this. Because flatlining is a natural thing after about 6 to 7 months. I won't go through all the psychology about it, just to say that it's normal. And if you're somebody who's really feeling a lot of overwhelming stress around this, or somebody that you know is feeling some overwhelming stress around this, this is a time to reach out. Don't ignore it. Reach out to a psychologist, reach out to a social worker, or reach out to a good pastor who knows something about spiritual direction and spiritual guidance, those kinds of things. Now, what do we do to create and find the energy to face all of these habit changes that we're facing. Bear with me, because it's going to sound maybe trite, but it's the place to start. This is the time to start decluttering. Declutter your house. Spend some time to clean. Get rid of the dust bunnies, literally the dust bunnies, if you can do that. Put things away that you know you're not going to use. Simplify your wardrobe if you can. And maybe even begin to simplify the way you eat. Remove all of the extra decisions that are in your life, so that you have more stored up energy to get to the things that you don't know you need to get to yet. And the other thing is, you might want to be using some of that energy now to get on with the work of bereaving. Because the problems of the world are going to last for at least another 6 to 12 months in the current form that we are, and we don't know exactly where we're going. But like that metaphor of the school where it's clean inside, but outside our habits also have to change. This is part of it. I know that's not all of the answers to where we're at, but you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. So this is the day to start decluttering. When you start to declutter physically, you'll start to declutter spiritually. And then when you start to declutter spiritually, you're going to start to see new habits and new outlooks on how you do things, how your relationships unfold, begin to materialize in a really helpful way. That's about all I'm going to say today, because I think that speaks for itself. Thanks for joining me this morning. Be blessed. Be a blessing. Declutter spiritually, so that together, you and me, we can say, we got this. Have a good day. Amen.